Bourbon Barkeep, my name's Curtis. Thanks for joining us. We got a new distillery in Kansas City. Have these guys been done on some other channels in different states? Yeah, guess what? They're new here, and I need to put them up on the channel because I've only heard good things. Peter Lofton and a few folks founded Bardstown Bourbon Company in 2014. Opened their doors in 2016 and said, let's do this thing. And I'm excited. And in 2019, sadly, Mr. Lofton passed away. So now, Mark Irwin is now president, CEO of Bardstown Bourbon Company. Not a fun fact, pretty obvious fact. These guys are out of Bardstown, Kentucky. The fun fact that I have for you is apparently their first bottle was a square. And it was so poorly designed that bartenders complained so much that they were like, hey, I can't pour this thing. It's an absolute bitch to put into a glass. So they changed it into this nice petite figure that you see in front of you. And I got to be honest with you, it's pretty slick. I like it. It looks fancier than what a $50 bottle could look, should look. I don't know. Fast forward to the year 2022, Bardstown Bourbon Company actually acquired Green River Distilling Company. And if you've watched this channel at all, big fans of Green River Distilling Company. They're Green River Foolproof. I will shout it from the rooftops. One of the best values out there, even with their bourbon. And sooner or later, I'm going to find $35 that I'm like, look at that. And buy their wheated and be super excited about it. The following year, not that it has anything to do with that acquisition, but in 2023, IWSC actually awarded them Whiskey Producer of the Year. In some of this very high-level research that I was able to do, they pushed two things that I could really lock in on. They pushed transparency. So on each of these bottles, you can actually see the exact mash bill, where they got it from, and how old it is. So some of these bottles that they actually have, whether it's the Discovery series, their old Fusion series, you could do some research and they would sit there and tell you, hey, this came from Tennessee and here's this mash bill. And then some of you whiskey nerds would go out there and be like, that seems like a George Dickel mash bill. That seems like a Wild Turkey mash bill, allegedly. But these distilleries didn't want to be disclosed, and that's why we're just going to stick with allegedly. The other piece that they're obviously very passionate about is their distillery. I have mentioned that they were founded 2014, 2016, depending on when you want to actually count it at this point. So they don't have this long lineage of like the Beams and the Jack Daniels, to where their grandfather was making moonshine with Shia LaBeouf out in the woods. And that's fine. What they're leading into is a distillery tour that is absolutely second to none. So they have one of the most beautiful distilleries I've ever seen on Google, and it's on my wish list to go for a Father's Day or a birthday or just a Tuesday, depending on what the wifey wants to sign off on. So their distillery seems to be beautiful, and I'm just going to have to stick with seems to be. They're one of the first distilleries with an attached restaurant. They also have a bottle library that is pretty sick. They got a bunch of old bottles in there that I'm pretty sure you just look at and don't touch. So more of a Mosey fan, where you can go touch the electricity. You're like, that's what it looks like. Bardstown Bourbon Company, they offered 3, now 2. Kind of excited that it's 2. They had a Fusion series. Fusion series was interesting because so they're getting ramped up and they're like, hey, we only have like half a bottle of whiskey. Do you all want to come in and put some older whiskey in? And you all, Wild Turkey, said, sure, let's do that. So they did some Fusion series, and now they actually grew up, got some hair on their chest, and they were like, hey, we're going to put out some 6-year-old Origin series. So the Origin series is what we're going to be debuting on this channel. So you have white label, we're going to go into more detail than just the colors, black label, green label, and now the new and improved, new weeded. They also have a collaboration series that has not made it to Kansas City. They have done some pretty cool collaborations, one with Prisoner, Foursquare Rum, Founders Brewing, Amroot. Yeah, that's about all I can think about off the top of my head. Those seem cool. I would love to taste them. Maybe one day when they hit here. Then they have their Ritzy, their fancy one, the Discovery Series. Discovery Series, we've only seen 10 in Kansas City. You can see this is 11. I purchased this from some California site. And I was like, man, I hope they don't steal my money. And they didn't. But this Discovery Series, I actually pulled blindly off of Stuff and Whiskey. So once you find one of those YouTube channels to where you're like, hey, your palate's kind of like mine, definitely subscribe. And if that's this channel, definitely subscribe. So pulled the trigger on this guy. They were like, hey, this reminds me a lot of Russell's 13. I love Russell's 13. So I'm going to do a side-by-side for the Patreon people and see how that turns out. So what this episode is about is the Origin Series. Origin Series, Bardstown was like, hey, we're done with the fusion. We have 6-year-old stuff. We're going to stick with our minimum being 6-year-old stuff. And if that rings a bell between 6-year-old stuff and transparency, holiday. So now, to dive into the tasting notes, what some of you are here for, hopefully some of you enjoy the history, the fun facts, like square bottles, now they're rectangle. Well, hopefully that checks out for some of you all. So first bottle we're going to start with, we're going to go with the white label. We have our just Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series. We have a 6-year, 60%, 36% rye. The 60% is corn. Hopefully we at least know that, but I'm going to get through there. And the malted barley at 4%. So this guy, $50, 6 years, checks out on bang for the buck. Let's see what we got on the nose. A lot of sweetness, not a lot of rye spice, kind of in a good way. I don't want to go, I personally, I should say, I don't want to go into a lot of herbal. This one, a lot of sweetness, a lot of vanilla, a lot of honey, some peach, maybe some apricot. Let's just go summer fruit, if you will. Peach, vanilla, honey, maybe like a light brown sugar. Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's see what we got. A little more rice spice on the tongue. Not bad. Not bad. It goes kind of bright. Like a nice mint, leather, peach is still there. Vanilla, honey's still there. So nose translates to the palate in a great way. That is really smooth. The spice hangs around on the tongue. Sweetness is kind of there too. Wow, good for you. Okay. I didn't expect that. We said, I don't know if I said, 96 proof on the white label. Fair. Yeah, we'll just stick with fair. All right, sip 2. Let's see if anything else comes out. Sip 2 is great. It's fresh. It's bright. I feel like the strawberry, raspberry started to kind of come out. That peach is still there. Nice apple tucked in, mixed in, blended in with honey, a really nice rich vanilla, and just a touch of leather. I think that rye spice sits around on the tongue to let you know it's there. 96 to 100 proof is kind of how I feel like it drinks, but overall, very sweet, very crushable, very dangerous, so be careful out there. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to the black label. I guess I should pick up the bottle before I actually dive into the Glencairn. So we have a 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. Still 6 years, still $50. So we're coming in at decent value age-wise, if you will. So you're coming from a rye to a wheat. That bottle and bond, they apparently check all those boxes, one being 4+ years. We got our 6. Let's see what we got on the nose. Much smoother, much sweeter on the nose. It's like a lot of vanilla. A lot of vanilla coming through, like a sugar cookie. Cherry. There's a sour in there. It's like a lemon drop, or like maybe even one of, or both, like a orange candy, like, you know, the gummy things. That's not bad. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we got. That's smooth and dangerous as well. A lot of caramel, a lot of vanilla, still your cherry, some peach coming through on the palate. 100 proof seems generous. That seems closer to like your 95 as well. That's sweet, that's silky, that's smooth. I would argue it actually drinks easier than the white label. Ooh, okay. Good for you guys. All right, let's see. Sip 2. We're going back to back, trying to rapid fire some of these so this isn't like a 35-minute episode. And we'll get some more. Sip 2. It's so good. What'd we get? We got some New Wise, Honey Nut Cheerios, and overly sweet milk. So we'll call it cream, like a heavy cream. Sits on the palate better than the white label, but overall the finish is about the same, even with the difference in proof. I would say they both have a nice peach to it, and I do like a good peach. This one seems to be a little more like a baked or a stewed peach, a little more rich, a little more ripe, a little more juicy. But yeah, when we're talking about some of the scoring that we're going to get into, it's going to take a revisit, because these two, delightful, highly approachable, and at $50, dangerous stuff. All right, so now we're going to hit our rye. We have a 95% rye, 5% malted barley here. We still got our 6 years, and this one's actually going to be finished. So this one's finished in a toasted cherry wood and oak barrels. This one's going to jump up to $70, almost at 100 proof. $70. We're sticking at 96 proof. Now, granted, rye, when you're talking about distilling it, typically a little more expensive, and you have a finished rye whiskey at this point. The $20 jump, not exciting to buy, but here we are. All right, let's see what we get in the nose. That's a lot of citrus. Holy hell. That's lemon and orange peel. Still vanilla, rye spice. I feel like it's there, so I don't know what to tell you. I got a new one for me. Lemongrass. We are an essential oil household, so if you think I'm making stuff up, lemongrass is one of those essential oils that we have, and I go around smelling things because I'm like, what does this smell like? Part of the whole whiskey journey, if you will. Lemongrass. I'm sticking with it. Lemongrass, got a little bit of cherry. I feel like the cherry goes pretty bright, if you will. Your maraschino cherry. Citrus peel is still there. Does the lemongrass bleed into it? Maybe. Maybe some orange peel in there. Overall, I'm intrigued. It can't be more different than our first two. So let's get on the palate and see. Okay. Honey, cherry, still there. A lot of vanilla. That's cilantro. That's definitely cilantro. I wouldn't say it's strong by any means, but I don't think I've ever picked up cilantro before. Wow. All right. Let's get sip 2 and make sure we're here. Sip 2 was better than Sip 1. The cilantro stayed. It also had a really nice kind of this sweet tart kind of going on, which brought me to ruby red grapefruit. I love a good grapefruit. I'm excited that it's here. It almost has that drying effect that citrus peels have. You know, that oil kind of dries you out a little bit. But there's that sweetness to that ruby red grapefruit that I pick up pretty quickly, actually, especially on, well, Sip 2 at least. Blackberry and a little bit of leather. I'm not a big 95.5 rye fan, and this drink's really citrusy, smooth, kind of a fan. Yeah, I had to make sure. Here for it. Now, the newest addition to the Origin series. This is going to be a heavy wheat, strong wheat. Yeah, we'll just go with that. So this one's still maintaining their 6-year pledge, if you will. This one comes in with corn at 53%, wheat at 39%, and malted barley at 8%. So this is going to be one of the highest wheated mash bills on the market right now. I've seen good things, rumblings of good things, whispers, if you will. Let's see if it stacks up to what we've been hearing. But this is going to come in at the highest proof at 106, we said. Yep, 106. Sticking at the $50 mark. Happy about that. Heavy cherry, heavy, bright cherry, a lot of vanilla. This one coming in a little more butterscotchy. This one may have the most oak, I feel like, kind of coming out of it. Maybe it's that wheat funk, if you will, but it's presenting a little oakier than the other three. Honey, caramel. I do think it does have a little bit of citrus going on. Nowhere near what was just experienced with the rye. But let's get on the palate, see what we got. Oh, wow. Okay, we got a player here. The sweetness is a 10 for sure. That rich butterscotch, honey, that even maraschino cherry continues wrapped in vanilla icing. Sweet mercy. That is so much cherry vanilla. It's like one of those Werther candies, you know, where they had that orange cream school. They had the cherry one. It's heavy cherry, heavy vanilla, and a nice rich butterscotch. Wow, that's nice. It drinks like the rest. I don't think it drinks above. It may linger on the tongue a bit more for that 106 proof, but in terms of hug, no, I wouldn't say it's warming. I think it just has a better mouthfeel than the other three. So let's see if that continues on Sip 2, see if anything else comes out. That high wheat does things. I was a little worried that it would come out with like this wheat funk, this funk that not really here for. It does not have that one bit. It has this really nice, like a plain pancake. Like you forgot the maple syrup because you have butterscotch chips in it. Plain pancake, and you scoop some like vanilla custard on it. You're like, why isn't this whipped cream? And they're like, I don't know, dear. That's all we have. And it winds up working out perfectly. It's like this nice creme brulee, like this nice toasted sugar. These are new bottles to Kansas City. These are new bottles in 2025. I realized they didn't come out in 2025, but guess what? We are a Bag for the Buck channel. These are all going to be scored. These are all going to be put into our Whiskey of the Year rankings. And I feel like they're going to do pretty decent for $50. So I'm going to revisit real quick. We're going to get back to scoring, do a little Bag for the Buck, and see what happens. Scoring time she comes. Here we are. Whiskey of the Year. I mean, we had Green River Full Proof do extremely well in our Whiskey of the Year rankings. Not only was the senses fantastic, the bang for the buck was maybe even better. These all should do extremely well. We're just going to go left to right, see what happens. White label, we've done the tasting notes. I love it. I think it's well worth the $50, that's for sure. I'm going to go 77. I think it's definitely up there with the good stuff. When it comes to the Bottled & Bond Black Label, it had a little more oomph to it, smoother. I don't typically go for the smoother, if you will. I do enjoy a little bit more of the spice. Maybe the proof helped it just a touch. Ultimately, I think I enjoyed it a little bit better on the revisit. I'm going to go 70. I'm going to go 79. I mean, it's flirting with great. Yeah, it's there. The rye. Rye was tough to rank. I'm not a big rye guy, as you all have seen. This one checked a lot of boxes that I'm here for. I'm going to go 78. Now, the weeded. Boy. Not overhyped. And I'm excited to get this into a lot of blinds, a lot of house call Wednesdays, if you will. When it comes to the weeded scoring, I'm going to go 82. I think it's great. That may be low. We do revisit these kind of throughout the year just to kind of make sure nothing changes or does it get better with the oxidization process. I think that this could do extremely well. Now, when it comes to bang for the buck, you're talking about $50 for 6-year whiskeys, if you will. What would I pay for the 96? If you told me it was 70, if you told me this lineup was 70, I think I'd be okay with it. I know that I'm going to put this against a Blanton's. That's kind of where my mind was kind of going with the sweetness and the spice to it. $70, you got Blanton's at 85. Yeah. I hope that matchup pops up sooner rather than later. I would pay above it, and what I get is great. We'll just go 77. Now, when it comes to the Bottled & Bond, it's so smooth. It's just so smooth. I'll just go a notch above 78. I think the proof helps. I think the wheat probably helps in terms of how smooth and refreshing and rich that Bottled & Bond is. Yeah, enjoyed it. The rye is a tough one. I loved the tasting notes that came out of it. It would be tough to find a better $70 rye right now. Is there a better one? Knob Creek 10-year would give it a run, but already at the $70 price mark, it definitely hinders it. I understand roughly the why with it being a finished product as well. I'll go 70. I mean, it's still 6 years. There's a lot to it. It's great. I don't know too many other ryes that are going to stand up to it at this point. Now the weeded. The proof helps. Once again, this is going to be one of those ones to where I'm excited to put it against some of these hard to find bottles. I think I'm going to go up to 80. Yeah. The proof, the year that checks out, and if you're sitting there going, you're hunting for Weller Antique 107, a side-by-side with those two, I want to see. And I need the randomizer to bring that up on the House Call Wednesday. So these guys, you may see more of them. I hope you see more of them. And I'm happy they're in Kansas City. These are probably instant buys. If you're not a rye fan, I could understand passing at $70, but at $50 on the other 3, not Discovery, to be fair. Like, subscribe. Hopefully the education helped, and hopefully this encouraged you all to buy them. If you're not in the Kansas City area, if these are not available, they should be available on Seelbach. So if you want to see the link below, it probably will justify the pool if you've been a little gun shy on $50 blindly. Hopefully this helps. We'll see. We'll see what else we got on the channel. There's more to come. We got a lot of stuff getting released this year. I'm excited about it. Thanks for tuning in. As always, cheers.